Well, hi guys, welcome to another Flight Deck 2 Sim live stream. We're going to go from Bristol today to Salzburg. There's a VATSIM event going on in Salzburg today, and I thought we'd jump on in and test again the latest version of the ZIBO mod, or a pre-release version I should say. I see some familiar faces: Stuart Walsh, Pop Cornelius, I've seen you a few times, James MP. Hope you're all very well. It's a bit of a dull day in Bristol. Sorry for the slight delay on the start of the stream. I finished setting up the aircraft, loaded onto the VATSIM network, and there was already an aircraft on my stand, so I had to change stand, and then had to reload everything in the aircraft again, so that was why it was a bit of a delay to the start of the stream. But yeah, live weather, live time. Unfortunately, we'll be landing in Salzburg after sunset. That's because the VATSIM event down there doesn't start until 4 PM local. And I just wanted to make sure we had some coverage there. So it's a great shame because the scenery we have in Salzburg with the Orphe 4 XP is pretty excellent. Anyway, we'll jump into the flight deck. I have finished the setup on this stream already. We'll still set up through everything we're going to do. The departure, we're going to fly the stand we're on. We still need to get the ATIS, and we still need to get the clearance from Bristol ground. I think we've got a full Bristol ATC coverage there. A few people messaged me saying, we'll make sure we get some coverage in Bristol for you, which will be pretty cool. So, let's firstly have a look at the routing. So, fuel today and loads based on 160 passengers, zero fuel weight is 58.4 tons. And if we go here to the flight plan, onto charts, here we go. So here's the OFP. Pop this out here so you can see in a little bit more detail about where we're going to go. Let's get to the map, which is on the last few pages here. So we're going to take off from Bristol, runway 09. The departure is the WOTAN 1 Zulu, and we're going to initially go northeast, then eastbound, overhead London, crossing the English Channel, over towards Belgium, crossing over Luxembourg, southwest Germany, heading off towards Stuttgart, and then we're going east towards Salzburg. Munich's about here. Flight time about 1 hour 40 minutes or so. So that's the routing. We've all checked there. Flight time we've discussed. I think the ground distance, there you go, 714 miles. We'll probably be airborne in about 20 minutes. So touching down in Salzburg, 4:30 Zulu or 4:30 local time if you're in the UK as well. Do the instrument cross-check now, so time we check with the first officers, 1434. The QNH is 1008, indicating 600 feet, which is the elevation of Bristol. We need to turn the flight directors on, and the standby instruments are all set. Imagine the captain's flying this sector, so left-hand seat takeoff. Runway 09, flap 5, it's an NADP2 departure, so bugging up at 1,000 feet. Emergencies, you've discussed your actions in the event of a rejected takeoff and the event of an engine failure. Now the taxi, we're on stand 1, which I think is the only stand that's free in Bristol at the moment. Well, no, a few people have pushed back in taxi now, but there's a Ryanair aircraft off to my right, but it was really busy when I logged on initially. Anyway, stand 1. So here's the chart. I think we've got a more detailed one here. We're going to push back to face west, and then once we're facing west, we're going to go all the way down here to Hull Points, I think, here, to Golf X-ray. So you've got to be a bit cautious with holding points like this. You often expect them to be 90 degrees offset with the runway, but it actually isn't. So here's the Hull Point Golf X-ray. And the departure today we're flying is the WOTAN 1 Zulu. Transition altitude 6,000 feet, and the initial climb, do not climb above 6,000 feet until instructed by ATC. So we've got 6,000 feet set there on the MCP. And the initial routing for our departure is climb straight ahead, runway heading, until we cross 4.7 miles off the DME distance for the ILS. At or above 3,000 feet, we make a left turn to intercept the radial 211, which is from Honley. Now, the Honley VOR is up here somewhere, but we just simply intercept the radial, and then we make a right turn east en route today. But we'll get the clearance from Bristol ground very shortly. So that's the SID covered. Performance-wise, I've loaded the Boeing OPT app, and it's going to be full 24k, flat 5, and the V-speed to set, V2 is 148 knots. So what we'll do, I haven't heard anyone on the frequency, but we'll check in and get our departure clearance. Actually, best just listen to the ATIS first. So I think if I just click this, instead of having to listen into it all, we got all the information here. So runway 09, surface wind 05011 knots, visibility 3,000 meters, light drizzle, mist, so a typical British autumnal day really, and the information is Alpha, so we can request that when we get the clearance now from Bristol ground. Bristol ground, very good afternoon, Broadsword 01, we're on stand 1, information Alpha. QNH is 1008, departure clearance to Salzburg, please.
Standby PR 01, Ryanair 18, contact tower.
Good, so he's prioritising the ground traffic, which is obviously the responsibility.
Because
the aircraft's moving in and out the way.
Ryanair 178, thank you, bye-bye. Bristol 02, requesting high fall to Salzburg, stand 24.
Was that for Broadsword 02? Was that so different call sign? Very different.
Ghost Rider 01, standby. Ghost Rider 02.
Ah, sounded Goosefly 02. So yeah, I've been fiddling with the volume on Squawk Box for VATSIM. It should be a little bit louder, but it's still pretty quiet. Jeff Langdon, hopefully the autopilot's fixed. 3.3 on K was a mess. Yeah, we had some problems with K and L, but we're in the 3.3 on Mike. Beta 5 has been fixed, those issues. Actually, I think if I put exclamation mark ZIBO, you can see all the details from what's going on. There you go. Someone's nicked my call sign. I'll let him off. So he's coming to Salzburg with me. I had a few messages from people saying they'll be following me on VATSIM, so hopefully we'll get ahead of him, we'll see. Whilst that's going on, we'll just get the APU started. Perfect. And ground services better push back. We can pre-plan that whilst we're waiting. Good, connect first.
Goose Driver 01, did you cover your clearance?
Goose Driver? What call sign is that? It's pretty awesome. Abyss, I should copyright Broadsword call sign. I don't mind. It is it's a real call sign from 2XL Aviation, which is a little corporate 737 based out of Northampton, Sywell, I think.
Goose Rider 01, Bristol ground.
What's he calling me? I couldn't clearly hear. Broadsword 01, were you trying to copy the clearance to us?
Yeah, your call sign that I've got is Ghost Rider, so Broadsword 01, cleared to Salzburg while it wasn't 10 departure, 09, Squawk 1173, QNH 1008, information Bravo.
Copy information Bravo, cleared to Salzburg on the WOTAN 1 Zulu departure, Squawk 1173 on the QNH 1008, Broadsword 01. Just confirm the call sign you have on the flight plan. I think there's an issue there with the call sign.
Yeah, I now copy as Broadsword 01 and Broadsword 02. I have you down as Ghost Rider.
Cracky, Ghost Rider, that's not mine, but I'll go with Broadsword 01, thanks. Ghost Rider? I don't know what that's all about. That's an awesome call sign as well, but we can use that.
Ready, pushing start.
Wilco Broadsword 01. So we might have some issues. I don't know how they got Ghost Rider on as a call sign, but that's pretty cool. Can you give me a yeah, Squawk 1173. I'm trying to set the QNH here. So once you've got the Squawk, you can set that there. Put that to out off there, and we can set that to 6,000 feet, which reminds us that we've been cleared to the altitude. GKS, yeah, VATSIM audio codec is quite hard to hear. Yeah, it is on X-Plane, but I have it turned up quite high. you see here, it's already beyond the settings which I edited in the notepad. If a default 100 is really difficult to hear, this guy's talking quite quietly.
0524.
Perfect. So APU can get on the bus now. Get rid of the GPU.
Clear to Salzburg on the bottom 2 departure, runway 09.
Perfect. So sounds like someone's following us. Oops, forgot to set this. Flight level 350, that's our cruise. I had it all set up because I had to move stand. Everything was deleted again. So just do a quick panel scan to make sure everything's set quickly. Seatbelt signs on. Trim air. That should be on steady. Perfect. So we'll get the clearance for pushback now. All ready to go. Tugs attached, I think. Let's just double check. Yeah, he's ready to go. Got the clearance, and we'll get the push start clearance. Bristol ground, broadsword 01 from stand 1, request push and start.
Broadsword 02, stand 1, push and start approved at 09.
Push and start approved from stand 01 for runway 09, broadsword 02. So he's got broadsword 02 as our call sign, so not exactly sure why. Anyway, air conditioning packs are off, anti-collision light on, parking brake is set, transponder to out off. We can now get the pushback underway. It's under ground services. Excellent.
Last call sign, say call sign only.
So he's got broadsword 02.
Broadsword 02, ready for push.
So he's got broadsword 02, and I've definitely put broadsword 01. I'm adamant.
Broadsword 02, push and start approved at runway 09.
I think we've mixed up broadsword 01 and 02.
Perfect. I think I just released parking brake. I can't hear the ground crew talking to me.
Last message was broken.
There we go. I've turned the volume quite far down for the pushback guy so I can actually hear ATC a little clearer. Excellent. So pushback's underway, and we can now start the engines. Start engine number 2 first, as per usual. There we go. So this scenery I purchased yesterday in the Black Friday sale. It's pretty basic scenery. I think it was about $15 or so, but yeah, it's alright. It's better than the default one, but you probably someone will get a bit of a telling off for leaving all these carts here. They get sucked up into engine number 1 when you start the pushback. Excellent. Alright, 25%. Start lever sidle detent. Check the spar valve goes bright dim. And then off. Excellent. Oh yeah, guys, I've actually reverted back. Well, I say I've reverted.
Bristol ground, right.
I had the updated Explain 11 version, I think it was 11.30, but for some reason it's gone back to 11.26, so I've got all the rubbish contrails and effects again. I don't know why, but I have it through Steam. It seemed to backdate automatically, but actually I think 11.30 wasn't quite as stable as 26, so I'm kind of glad it has gone back. Joe Byrne, you haven't made a tutorial for ages, you're quite right. I will, at a point, I want to make a tutorial on how to fly approaches using vertical speed, but I've been really busy, and streaming's a lot easier, because I can just, you know, it takes a couple of hours to plan and set up a tutorial. To make a kind of 25-30 minutes tutorial, it takes a lot of recording, editing. I obviously don't do it perfectly first time, so you have to just be careful. With timing there, so yeah.
02, I've already given you pushback clearance.
I think that's for someone else anyway. Starting engine number 1. Get the wipers on as well. There we go, 25%. Parking brake set. Press X. Have I left that on then? I think it's already off. There, you see, if I press X, it gets a lot worse. It's just the effects from the older version. There is a broadsword 02 on frequency. Yeah, and I don't know if I'm adamant my call sign on the flight plan's broadsword 01, and I think you might be getting the two confused. Right, starter cutout. Monitor engine number 1, 2, 4, 6, and 3. 3, 2 stable. N1's a little bit slow to increase, but it is stabilised in the mod. Right, well imagine we've seen the pushback crew. We'll do the before taxi float. There we go, probe on. We'll need the engine anti-ice on as well, because it's a lot of visible moisture around. Wing anti-ice comes off when you get airborne, as the air ground logic goes to air. Flap 5 for takeoff. Good. Full forward, full back, full left, centre, full right, centre, and the rudders. Full left, centre, full right, centre. Should better move my rudder pedals because my desk is blocking full authority. Recall, and then you'd read the before taxi checklist. Just make sure he shows us the bypass pin. There he is. Happy as Larry as ever. Thumbs up as well. Excellent. Right, we then read the before taxi checklist. So generators on, APU is off, start switch is continuous, probe on, engine wing anti-ice on, PAX auto bleeds on, isolation valve auto, flaps. We've got 5 required, 5 selected, green light, stab trim set for takeoff. It was about 5.2 units. Again, I do it quite roughly on the stream. And we push recall, so before taxi checklist is complete, we'll now request taxi, but it looks like we might have to hold for a short while as this, well, I doubt it's an American Airline 737, but we'll wait until he gets going. I'll request taxi nonetheless. Broadsword 01, a pushback complete, request taxi.
Bristol 01, taxi holding point 02 at this time.
Taxi holding point where? Golf 2? Just confirm taxi holding point Golf 2 for Broadsword 01. I can barely hear this guy.
Negative Zulu 2, short of your company aircraft.
Okay, gotcha. Hold short Zulu 2, Broadsword 01. So, Zulu 2, yeah, I see it now on the chart. I've got it in front of me. I don't know if all the stand markings are here are correct, but we'll have a look in a second. We could take our time because the other guy's pushing back. Here we go. So we just push back from stand 1. There we go. So Zulu 2 is just here, very much close in front of me. We might actually see it from here. There you go. So we can literally move forward to this point there. Right, release parking brake, taxi and turn off lights are on. We'll do a config check, make sure there's no takeoff warning horns. They're not. And we'll just hold a beam Zulu 2.
Broadsword 02, request taxi.
So Broadsword 02 is ahead of us.
02, taxi holding point Golf X-ray runway 09.
Holding point Golf X-ray runway 09, Broadsword 02.
Broadsword 01, taxi holding point Golf X-ray behind company aircraft.
Taxi holding point Golf X-ray behind company aircraft runway 09, Broadsword 01. Perfect. So we've been cleared all the way to Golf X-ray now, which is here, a whole point just there. So we'll take our time as the American Airlines / Broadsword company aircraft is right behind us. That's going to be a bit confusing because I'm going to be following all the way to Salzburg. Not a problem.
Information, Bravo, request IFR clearance to Salzburg, please.
You can see his call sign, that Broadsword 02 there. Cool.
Ryanair 24 Alpha, cleared to Salzburg while the WOTAN 10.
Another aircraft going to Salzburg as well.
Squawk 0326.
Tim Fraser, coming with another donation. You're always giving me little tips. £5, thank you very much. Great to see you back online. Finally took the plunge and I'm downloading it as I watch your fantastic stream. Yes, so welcome to X-Plane 11. It is by far the superior sim. Thank you very much again for the donation. Actually, I'm just going to turn the alert box off, guys. It's something I'm trying to do because I had a lot of messages from people saying, the alert box is a bit distracting. To be fair, it is because I'm trying to instruct and explain what I'm doing. So we'll come back on above 10,000 feet, but nonetheless, Tim, thank you very much.
Ryanair 27 Juliet Whiskey, pushing start.
So we can do the before takeoff checklist, the one on the control column now. So config we've checked, flaps we have 5, green light stab trim set for takeoff, it's about 5.5 units set. Takeoff briefing, left hand seat takeoff for runway 09, packs are auto, bleeds are on, the V speed is set for takeoff, V1 is 139, VR is 140, V2 is 148, which is set. The departure was the WOTAN 1 Zulu. We're going to climb on runway heading 087 degrees until we are 4.7 miles from the ILS DME, and then we'll make a left turn inbound on the 212 radial to Honolulu, climbing to an altitude of 6,000 feet, which is there. And then we ding the cabin, they would tell us they're eventually secure, we then move the chime, or no smoking switch to on, and the before takeoff checklist is now complete. So we can put up Bristol Tower now. That is going to be 113850 on standby, which is here. This is where it can be tricky on your own in VATSIM, because if you want to try and multitask, because you're having to obviously operate a single crew aircraft on your own, often you get little errors and mistakes coming in. Isaac, why do you prefer Explain? I'm looking to upgrade from FSX because for the money you're getting a superior sim. It's extremely stable. I've done nearly 100 hours now in Explain. I've not had a single crash to desktop once, never. And also it utilises a far better flight modelling system. And I'm not an expert in this, but I fly the ZIBO mod, test it, and it handles terrifically well. Good, so he's at the whole point, Golf X-ray, Bristol 02, he's going over to tower. Perfect. Oh, look at crazy smoke. That's definitely not X though, that's just the water. Maybe I should have stuck with the earlier version of
contact tower on 133.85.
Bristol Tower 113.850 broadsword 0 on. Have a good afternoon, bye. Perfect. So we'll go over to tower. It looks like he might have gone in his line-up or takeoff clearance, as he's already lining up. They need to update the stands at the whole points here. It's Golf 2. It's actually called Golf X-ray. And what could be the next frequency we've got? Might be Unicom. I'm not sure, but we'll have a look out there. Yeah, I don't think there's any UK sectors or centre there, so we'll leave Unicom 122.8 probably. Tune that after departure. We'll see what he says. Excellent. So here we are at the whole point. Set the parking brake for now, and we'll check in. Bristol Tower, good afternoon. Broadsword 01, holding point Golf X-ray runway 09er, ready for departure.
Broadsword 01, Bristol Tower, good afternoon, sir. Behind the departing company, Boeing 737 via Golf X-ray, line point runway 09er behind.
Behind the departing company traffic, departing runway 09er, line up and wait behind, Broadsword 01. Excellent, so we've been cleared to line up and wait, he's already rolling, so we can move this to here. We haven't been cleared for takeoff, so we'll put that to that position to remind us. MCP, weather radar, transponder to TARA. So MCP is set, transponders and TARA, strobe lights are on. Holding on the lights for takeoff. Excellent. So he was handed over to Unicom, so probably no one on the sector here. But when we get into Salzburg at 4 o'clock local, there will be a full ATC coverage there. So confirm with your other pilots, that's what we're doing in real life, that we are clear to line up, and then we'll clear, check both directions that the runway is clear and the approach, but you won't see much today in Bristol as it is rather dull. Cool. So ZIBO's updated the TCAS system to be a little bit more realistic, still needs a lot more testing, so hopefully it'll be a little bit better, but if you're flying online on the ZIBO mod now on VATSIM, you should have more accurate traffic depiction on the TCAS. system. Well, certainly on the version I'm testing, which will be released very shortly. Good. There we go, so we're just waiting for the takeoff clearance now. Good. Sounds like a barking whale, the wipers on the mod, but they are quite squeaky in the real aircraft too. So not required, but as I think I mentioned in the other streams, good habit.
Runway 01, runway 09 at left, takeoff, 7040 degrees, 10 knots.
Runway 09 cleared, takeoff, Bristol 01. So as I was saying, good habit to keep your feet on the brakes as opposed to the parking brake, otherwise you'll set it to forget. We're being cleared takeoff, so taxi light on before takeoff checklist is complete. We'll start the timer, and runway heading 087, start your timing. Thrust levers up to 40%. That's stabilised, push toga, set, take off thrust. Light forward pressure on that control column. Use rudder to maintain centre line. Takeoff thrust set, and indications normal. A little bit of right rudder at the moment for a tiny bit of crosswind to keep up the centre line.
80 knots.
Check, we can release the forward pressure on the control column. Using up all the runway in Bristol. V1 rotate. 2 to 2.5 degrees per second. Pull for that dead band at 10 degrees up to 15 degrees onto the flight directors. Positive rate of climb, gear up, and then trim. When you're on this initial... Actually, I'm completely trimmed out now, so I'm just light forward pressure, no real pressure on the control column, so just trim it out and keep it on the flight directors. It's pretty
One
pretty stable. Thank you. Monitor Unicom 122.8 broadsword 01. Good afternoon. Excellent. Command is a bug up. And we can turn this off and this off too. So ZIBO's worked really hard to stabilise level change. You see, it's descending a bit slightly. It shouldn't do that. It was a lot worse in the previous version, but he's dampened it out slightly. And the flap retraction speed and extension speeds have been revised to be more realistic too. So, speed check flaps 1. There we go, onto Unicom. Above the 1 bug, speed check flaps up. So obviously, in reality, we'd be handed over to Bristol Approach Radar or London Control, and they would give us further climb clearance. So what we're going to do, as there's no one on Unicom, we're just going to set the cruise level, 350, which is now set. Push out into vent, so you delete the restrictions, VNAV, and set standard. Passing flight level 39 for flight level 350. We can now do the after takeoff checklist. So we still need the engine anti-ice on, it's 4 degrees. Leave the start switches in continuous. Air conditioning and pressurization. Make sure this big needle, which is the differential pressure, is increasing. If it's still on 0, that's probably a sign you're not pressurizing. The cabin altitude is increasing slowly. Auto, very important. Cruising at 350 on. All of these in auto. Temperature controllers, and that's all set. Now put the gear to off, water brake off, and then as a final check we confirm that we have the correct altimetry setting, which is standards now set, and we do a cross check on the altimeter. So passing 5.2 for flight level 350 after takeoff checklist is complete. We push this button here, the attend button, which releases the cabin crew from the seatbelt so they can get on with their duties, and that's it. That's the after takeoff checklist all complete. A chance to look at some questions. Hopefully we'll get on top of this cloud soon. In Condor simulations, I'm assuming this feels more like the real thing over the 7PMDG 737. So yeah, I personally think the ZIBO mod handles better than the NGX, because I think it's more down to the fact the NGX and is having to use an old simulator system. But no, this handles brilliantly. Like the attitude and thrust settings I've mentioned in previous streams and tutorials match the real aircraft. The same inputs I make on the control column are kind of identical to what I do on the, or my joystick, sorry, are kind of identical to what I do on the control column as well. So I'm going to put Honley as the active frequency, so you can see the needles are pointing towards there. We're flying inbound to Honley right now on the 232, or 032 QDM, I should say. Actually, we should put the SID. There you go. So you can see inbound on the radial towards Honley, towards WOTAN, and then the flight plan takes us eastbound here, so we go off the SID after WOTAN, which should be depicted here on the ND. I'm guessing that's my colleague, Bristol 02, there. It wouldn't usually appear 6,000 feet above, it shouldn't show on the TCAS if they're that much higher, but that will be him. We could be cheeky and cut the corner, but I don't really fancy doing that. We'll just follow the flight plan route for now. Excellent. So on top of cloud now, we can get rid of the engine anti-ice. There we go. And lastly, flight level 100 for flight level 350. Let's do the pre-cruise checks. So fuel, got a little bit of fuel in the centre tank, 300 kilos. We'll pop that on. The reason they were off is because you don't want to be halfway down the runway at 60 knots and then the master caution for centre pumps come off. So generally, when you have less than about 500 kilos, it's really a good idea to leave that off and then turn them on as soon as you get to 10,000 feet. So fuel we've checked, lights are off, APU is off, pressurization is now 3.0, that's all set. We can release the passengers, push recall, and the pre-cruise checks are complete. And you can already see, look, we've burnt nearly 100 kilos from the centre. Let's go for a little external view. There we go. Oh, and there's the weather being rebuilt by XP. It was a bit of a shame. Cool. Nikolai, on the progress page I noticed that distance to go on the waypoint after active waypoint is not counting down. Is that normal? Oh, I left the engine anti-ice on. No, it's a spurious message from the mod. That shouldn't come up. That's if you leave the mod anti-ice on. Where are we looking? So WOTAN, that's the previous waypoint we passed over. KENET, distance to go 31. On the process, you notice that distance to go on waypoint after active waypoint is not counting down. I've not noticed that. I'll look into that in a second and feed that back into ZIBO. But the FMC is very good. It's in its infancy. I mean, it's missing a lot of features from the real aircraft, obviously, but it works absolutely fine for kind of normal operations. We know a lot of the FMC has been developed from feedback from myself, some of the other 737 drivers we've got on the kind of beta team, testing all that sort of stuff. George and Stasis, have you got a Discord? I don't have my own Discord. I only use it to communicate with ZIBO and the team. I've considered starting one. I don't really have the time to kind of dedicate to that. Literally any spare time I have is usually replying to comments on YouTube tutorials, messages on Facebook, messages on Instagram, planning and testing the mod. It's going to be a little bit too much to try and run that as well. I might do in time, but if you want any if you have any questions, feel free to message me. As I said, I sometimes take some time to feed that back because I am really busy. Chris Rage, are you in real life a first officer or a captain? I'm a first officer. I sit in this seat over here, so that's what I do. Been first officer about 6.5 years, and I'm also a TRI, or what we call an SFI, a synthetic flight instructor. So I teach and do recurrency training for pilots in the airline I work for. So it's where I spent most of my time in the simulator. Perfect. So, again, the word is reloading. You can see we're off now the SID, so we can get rid of these charts. We won't need the Bristol charts anymore. We'll talk about the approaches into Salzburg later. And you can see on the interactive map, which is a feature we don't have on the real aeroplane, but is really cool. If it loads up. Shows you exactly where you are geographically. So we're over Swandon in the UK, and then we'll be crossing over just to the south of London, English Channel, towards initially Holland. Cool. So every 10,000 feet again, just check your pressurisation. Diff pressure's 5.2. It's all set correctly. What's new in 3.31M? This is some of the stuff that's being developed. I'll show you. So there's been a lot of tweaks to the automation. Flap extension retraction times have been revised. Tow go arounds as well. I think what I'm going to do maybe next week, if I get a chance, is on do another stream, but just a bit more of a kind of an educational stream. We won't go on VATSIM, but I'll actually just demonstrate go arounds. So we'll go to some airports, fly some go around, show you how it works and stuff, because that's really working quite well now on the mod. So when you push TOGA to fly missed approach, all the systems are working correctly, the aircraft's accelerating, the flight director commands are now working, so it'll be quite cool to show you that. Or maybe a tutorial, we'll see. I might do both. Tim, may I ask, is the AviTab payware? Absolutely not, it's freeware. Folco is the name of the chap that downloads that. Allows you to push this, it gives you Navigraph chart integration, so you can type in the airport code, so we'll put in Salzburg now. Next, there you go, and you have it links to your Navigraph account, so you've got all the charts available to view here, and that map and other things. It also allows you to upload PDF documents, so under charts I've got the operational flight plan here, which is quite cool. So that's downloaded from Simbrief. You just pop it in the folder. That's another reason why I like X-Plane 11 so much. It's so easy to install and integrate stuff. It's a very simple system that uses it. I see people are trying. This Nightbot thing is quite new to me. I used it the first time in the last stream because it's just get the odd kind of immature person commenting. It does command stuff, but I think if I put !commands, it should show you some of the things you could do with it, so you can get information about kind of like what we're doing, mod we're flying, or maybe not #commands. There's a list of things I need to go through. I need to play with it really. Drunk Winter, are you planning on buying X-Enviro with their volumetric clouds in the near future, and also do you have an opinion on its visuals? Well, I only have default weather at the moment. I'm actually waiting for Active Sky to release their weather engine. That's what I had for the FSX, which was really good. I really enjoyed that system. It seemed to accurately replicate kind of wind shear, all those other things. So hopefully when that comes out I'll get that one. Otherwise I've just got default weather. It's actually really quite good, and this plugin XB Weather, it does reload the weather every 20 minutes or so. I've increased it to update every 20 minutes, but it just copies the METAR exactly, so you do get accurate live weather all the time. Swapmill Capida, can you explain difference in GLS and ILS approach? And because you put it in capital letters, I think Nightbot's deleted the message. GLS approach is like it's very similar to an ILS. It's like a more updated version. We're actually trialling it at the airline I work for now. I don't know much about it. I haven't read into it. It's essentially the same as an ILS, I think, but I'm not actually an expert on it. It's like GBAS or GNSS something or other, I don't know, but it's a new ILS system, which I think is more accurate. I'm not 100% sure though. Matthew Schmidt, any tips for ATPL students? Hopefully I'll get this CPL in summer, get around 120 hours as of now. Any good tips for upcoming pilots who wants to get a job as soon as possible? Well, firstly, good luck with everything. Just I mean, from an airline interview perspective, they're looking for all the skills that you'll be developing now as a commercial airline pilot doing your instrument rating. But look for the other things like teamwork, your ability to communicate, CRM, which is obviously a huge important factor in all aspects of a multi-crew environment. So develop those skills too. That's what they're kind of looking for. I've got a lot of questions recently saying, did I use flight sim products to help develop my training? I did, but it's important if you are training, don't use something like the ZIBO mod or the NGX or a Seneca to kind of practice handling. They are really good, but what these are really useful for the simulators is the instrument flying. So using the autopilot, following radials and using the RMI, basic instrument navigation. That's really useful for that sort of stuff. I've used simulators a lot in my training. They certainly help it, but it's not to replace your primary training, just to supplement it. J Campbell, CRM ? Yeah, that's crew resource management. It's all about the utilization of certain skills such as communication, teamwork, understanding knowledge, and using your other pilots who sat next to you in this seat to come to safe decisions. CRM, in its infancy, 40-50 years ago, wasn't really a concept, and there was a lot of key accidents or incidents where poor CRM or poor teamwork led to accidents. So the classic one is the worst aviation disaster, which was the Tenerife Air disaster with the Pan Am and the KLM jumbos. That was kind of the dawn of CRM and the concepts there. The captain on that KLM there was lacking some CRM skills. He ended up taking off without clearance, just going on his own. But there's a good documentary on that which covers that. The original CARP, as a ZIBO tester, are you aware of any plans to be able to stream the inbuilt EFP to an external iPad? I don't know if there is one in development at the moment. As you've probably seen in my tutorials and other streams, I'm very fortunate the fact I have the EFB for the NG, obviously, on my electronic flight bag. Whether that's going to be implemented on the mod anytime soon, I have no idea. I see people talk about it's a payware performance calculator, but it would be awesome if we did have one here on the iPad. It's there. I mean, we use it. I have to use it every day for every takeoff and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I'll have to talk to ZIBO, but he's so busy implementing so many other systems at the moment. I think we've got control wheel steering working there. I probably won't demonstrate it just in case it messes something up, because last time I checked it, it still needed some work, but maybe I'll have a tutorial covering control wheel steering at a later date. Cool, so approaching Goixil, there's traffic ahead and behind us. I guess we're all on our way to Salzburg. Thereabouts is Goixil. There we go, so just the south of London. I'm unfamiliar with this routing, but usually come from other side of London. So we've got Biggin Hill there. Excellent. Gatwick just to the south, 20 miles. Excellent. So we've got one to go. You know how I talked about using vertical speed to slow your rate of climb down? If it's approximately 1,000 feet, it's fine. You can leave that there, because vertical speed, it's a very basic pitch mode. If you go like vertical speed like this and set a really high vertical speed, the aircraft will just do it. And the speed can, these kind of altitudes can drop off very, very quickly. So here we go, approaching the cruise level. Just wait until we're level at 350, and then we can engage VNAV. There we go. Awesome. And top of descent 16, so about 1 hour until top of descent. I will have a 5-minute break at some point prior to it getting busy. I know you're not meant to on that sim, but just have a drink and a quick toilet break. Tal Khalid, can you explain the level change mode and when it's meant to be used? So level change is a pitch mode. So we use this to climb and descend, and the pitch is based on the speed. So if you select level change, it opens the speed window. Obviously we're level now, so it won't work, and then you set your speed. So let's say level change 300 knots. This changes here to MCP speed. Now this is your pitch FMA. That means the aircraft is pitching, altering its rate of climb rate to maintain that speed. Now level change is a very useful pitch mode when you're high, because you can just simply pitch for a speed when you're descending, and it's the quickest way to get down efficiently. So, and it's also quite good because VNAV is the other descent mode. If you're a bit high on profile, VNAV will try and dive for that profile. If you want a bit more control, you can use level change for that. So yeah, it's a basic pitch mode where the aircraft simply pitches for the speed, and the auto throttle will either maintain a fixed climb thrust setting of N1, or if in descent it goes retard and arm and it closes the thrust lever, but you can still set the thrust manually. I hope that kind of answers as kind of simply as possible what level change does. PC44 Pilot, hi, Ace Channel, was wondering what flight level change does. Well, that was the exact same question, so I hope that answered it for you too. Kieran Hogan, do you feel a move amongst the low-cost EU carriers away from Boeing to Airbus? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think I don't know what the order. I don't kind of keep an eye on those sort of things, but I'm sure both the airline, both Boeing and Airbus have huge backlogs of orders and stuff. But I think they both have their advantages and disadvantages. 737 is a proven concept, extremely reliable aircraft, especially the NG. So yeah, I wouldn't see why airlines would be changing to Airbus. Harris Lai, can you try touch and go in ZIBO? Not today. I've not actually done it, but we can do. I've done the visual circuit tutorial on the NGX, but it would work. Skilled Legend outside view. You want an outside view? There you go. Perfect. Look, I can put background music on now as well. There you go. So lovely views. Sun's going to be setting, as I said earlier. It will be dark. We land in Salzburg, which is a great shame because the scenery is excellent. Doity, hello, are we able to fly a holding with the ZIBO mod? Yeah, we can use holds. I did a hold in the last stream. It works pretty well. It can work out parallel, direct and offset entries too, which is pretty cool. There we go, turn the music down now. I've been learning to stream a little bit more efficiently. I've got all this software now that works. I've got iPad Streamlabs because I've still only got one monitor. I want to get a second monitor, but the problem is I don't have enough space on my desk for the second monitor. But I've got two iPads open, my laptop, which has all the chat as well. Cool. So yeah, that's the external view. Weather's being reloaded again. Excellent. Zing Ting, are you playing from Steam? Yes, this is the Steam version of X-Plane 11. Mr. C-So, what's the big difference between an A320 and 737? Where do I start? I think the biggest one, the most important thing, is the Airbus A320 has a tray table. I think that's the only advantage I can think of. I think it's a nice environment to work. Well, I've actually jump-seated on a A320 flight deck, a friend of mine. It is a nicer place to work. The 737 as well is a really loud flight deck compared to the A320, but the Boeing is a proper airplane. Big yoke, big rudders. You know, when you disconnect, you are actually flying it, as opposed to Airbus, where you're manipulating computers and stuff. Aviation London, can you explain courses and VORs for me? I'm confused. Confused. I always just use RNAV. Well, okay, we'll have a look at this. So let's have a look. Yeah, well, here we go. We've got Dover VOR coming here. So if you look here, we're flying inbound to Dover, and this magenta line, you know, it is a generated line from the FMC, but if you look outbound from there, this is the radial you're on. So, what is the frequency for the Dover VOR? I have no idea. I'll get my pilot out this out and have a look for you so we can tune it. Actually, I don't know if does ZIBO have this working. Index nav data, it might do. Dover nav options. No, it doesn't show the frequency. I think I checked that. Don't worry, I'll get it very shortly. Dover VOR is 114.905. 1495. So VOR navigation is a key concept of instrument flying. It's very important you know when you're doing your instrument rating how it works. So you can see here we've got Dover tuned. VOR is recognised. DME distance is 17 miles. This is what we call slant range, which is obviously a factor at high altitude. And if we change this to ADF, this is the rate. If you ever want to know what radial you're on, always look at this needle. The tail of the needle is the radial you're on if you're flying inbound to a beacon. If you're flying inbound to a beacon. So in this case, we're on the 282 radial or something. Now, on a modern aircraft like the, well, I say modern, it's not modern at all. If you select VOR, and if you put the reciprocal of that in there, so the inbound QDM, which is going to be about 110, you'll see. You see how this magenta bar moves? This is your position in relation to the course you've selected. So if you want to find out exactly what radial you're on, and you're flying inbound to the beacon, set this up until it's in the middle, and this tells you that we're flying inbound on the reciprocal of this. So 102 is the inbound heading. So if you add 180 or subtract 80, it's going to be 2. Oh, my mind's gone blank. 302 282 on the 282 radial. So the tail of that on the 282 radial inbound to Dover. So that's how that works. When you overfly Dover VOR, we're going to be outbound and going away from it on the outbound radial. I think I've said that the right way, but that's how it works. I mean, VOR navigation is prior to modern aircraft and having FMCs and entities. This is how en route navigation was done over mainland. You tune each VOR, you'd set this up. People would use this is a better display of it using sensor, and you just simply navigate to each one there. Now there's another VOR tuned on box 2 Mike Tango Delta, I'm not sure where that is, somewhere over France I guess, 130 miles, and you can see that's just simply, if you want to go towards it, you just simply put the green triangle there. But there's other things you've got to think about, like courses, headings and tracks as well. But yeah, it's really having to dig back in my memory. I mean, I can still navigate using it, IFR rules and radials and beacons. It's something we train in the sim. Every 3 years we fail the FMCs, and you have to fly a conventional approach just to make sure you've still got those skills. It's something can easily be forgotten. Excellent question. I think Bernardo asked as well, which Lutar is. I always have wondered what's the difference between ILS Yankee and ILS Zulu, because the charts look virtually identical. So yes, different approaches will have different names. Yankee, Zulu is typically because there's different missed approach tracks or different procedures to get onto the ILS. So an ILS X-ray, for example, might be a procedural approach with a beacon over the airfield flying outbound, making a 180 degree turn. Then there might be an ILS Yankee, which is from a different VOR and a transition onto the approach. It's different approaches or go-arounds getting to the same ILS essentially, and you get VOR, X-ray, Yankee, Zulu, but you're still on final flying the same approach. It's just the variation either on the transition getting onto the ILS or the go-around from the from a missed approach there. Some of these questions, jeez. Strong Bobcat, what yoke do you use? I'm using a Logitech Extreme 3D Pro joystick, which should be about 40 quid. I'm not using a yoke, but this works fine. Cool. So, I better actually always keep an eye on this, because I don't know if someone comes online whether I've got any coverage or not. I'm having a look on the VAT traffic map. It looks like there is a centre online overhead West Germany, but that's still a way to go yet. And I guess if someone sends me a message, they ping me. Aviation Pro, hello, welcome to the chat. If anyone's wondering, Aviation Pro is an expert in simming, way better than I am. He's a VATSIM Pro. I actually watched some of his videos to learn how to use VATSIM. Howdy, any last minute tips for assessment and psychological tests for real life flight training? Well, I'm guessing you might... you did post a video recently saying that you're going to start that, so congratulations firstly. Any last tips for the assessment and psychological tests? There's some really good websites online where you can do like hand-eye coordination tests with joysticks, basic arithmetic. They're the sort of things they're looking for with the those sort of tests there. If there's any team building exercises, there's plenty of things as well you can practice there. I did two. I did one for my initial flight training. When I joined, I had to do a whole day of exercises and maths exams and all of these psychometric tests, and then one for the airline I worked for. Had a very basic psychometric testing. But yeah, if you look online, I can't remember the exact name of the one I used. I'll have a look now. That's a good way to start. Airline interview prep, and you can pay a small amount of money as well. I can't remember. Well, drop me a message on Facebook and I'll give you any tips about that. There's plenty of online documents available there. Oh god, look, we're catching up with some traffic. What's this? Hello. So that is Ryanair something or other. That is pretty cool. That's why VATSIM is excellent. Because this is what it looks like in real life, typically, when you're on a sector of the same traffic there. That's pretty awesome. I hope he doesn't come up to our cruise level. Only 1,000 feet above it. He should be 2,000 feet below. He should be on an odd flight level, 3.3 or 3.7. I guess, I'm not sure. It looks like we're catching him. And maybe if he's in the NGX on that, they have, with the ZIBO mod, we haven't developed the cruise speeds there, so it's fixed at 7.8. So we're probably going much quicker than we should do. So we might overtake him. Oh, he's disappeared from the face of the planet. Oh, my then. Not sure where he's gone. Hello, hi, loving your vids. Would you consider doing a tutorial on the FlyJSim 200 using the old INS system? Well, is that on Explain? I'm guessing so. Yeah, that would be quite cool. If I get a 200 or a Classic without an FMC, I could do some raw data navigation. Ooh, just not the rudder pedal there. Don't ever do that on the real aircraft in the cruise. So, yeah, that's something we could do. I'll look into that. But usually, I spend so much time testing the modern stuff. It's quite cool to show you that. But yeah, I might look into it. And there's another one, IXEG, the 400, the Classic, which would be quite cool to look at. I might go into looking and do some tutorials in those as well. I'm an Shift. What's the longest flight that you've done in real life? Well, I'm not going to do that because it's going to tell you who I work for. But it was around 5.5 hours. 5.5 hours. The scheduled time was about 4 hours 30, but we had an extremely strong headwind. But that was the longest flight I've done on the NG, about 5.5 hours in my logbook. Harish, I'm giving my ground papers, Captain, air regulation, meteorology navigation as per the DGCA norms. Oh Christ, that's DGCA, I'm not sure about that. Been 8 years since I've looked at all that, but yeah, keep at it, keep at it. Awesome. So I've had the Coxie VOR now. Look at some of the views. Another thing I explained does brilliantly is the kind of dusk sunset. The visual looks incredible. You know, I mean, simming's not just about, you know, flying to normal SOPs, procedures and rules. It's a big part of that, but it's actually making sure it looks flipping good. Yeah, that looks fantastic. There we go. Yeah, I mean, this is just incredible. Didn't get this with Flight Simulator Microsoft 2002, which is the first sim I ever had. Bull Bosphorus, is everything okay in the fly plan? Yeah, I believe so. Flight's going like this. Be routing overhead Belgium shortly, Luxembourg, southwest Germany. All goods. Should I push this? We can see where we are. Just over Dunkirk border. There we go. Torrent Drew Fraser, do you ever get bored of flying? How do I answer this? I'm incredibly lucky to be where I am, but sometimes it is nice to have a break. It's like anything in life, if you do it every day. I don't want to sound like it, you know, because I'm very lucky where I am, and I'm all guessing you want to be in my shoes. But yeah, sometimes it's nice to have a break. But I love, you know, I'm doing what I love, so in a way it is really nice. So I really enjoy simming now. You know, sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm on standby, I can do some stuff for ZIBO, which I know sounds ridiculous, but it does get a bit samey. I've got 4,000 hours, and I really prefer shorter sectors. Like some of the long sectors, 4 hours plus can be a little bit laborious. You're sat here doing nothing. But you know, chat with the other guy, catch up, especially if it's a good friend of yours. Talk about different things, but yeah, I prefer doing lots of short sectors. Long haul, how people could do long haul, I have no idea. I've been sat in an aircraft for 8-9 hours. It'd be great to have flown a wide body jet, but for personal reasons and life outside of work, it does really have a big impact. So I trained a lot of guys who have gone long haul and then come back short haul after, you know, sometimes less than 5 years. It just wasn't for them. So yeah, I'd love to do it for like a year. Someone said to me, "Oh, you can go fly the Jumbo or the 777 for a year." I'd be like, "Oh, fantastic!" But it's a big change, and for personal reasons, I'm very happy where I am. God, got a bit sidetracked there, but yeah, I do still love my job, still enjoy flying, and I love doing this sort of stuff too. Matthew Smith, how much GA flying do you do outside of commercial flying? None of them, I'm afraid. And I wish I actually had my SCP rating valid still. I might go into doing that again. But as I just said previously, I do a lot of flying as it is, so sometimes it's nice to switch off. I think when I'm a bit older, I'll return to GA flying. Oh Christ. So I said, it's still an experimental function of the TCAS, so I hope there's no one near me. Let's have a look outside. There was that traffic 1,000 feet below us, but he seems to have disappeared off the planet. Oh look, there's traffic behind us. Is this what you call these spammer people messing around or something? Oh well. I've seen, what was this, Captain Canada? He's a good streamer as well. He's very funny. I like this guy. He often gets people crashing his streams. So I'm guessing it's the the same again. Oh dear. Hopefully he'll get booted off soon. It's still is messing around. I'll just turn the transponder off temporarily. Unbelievable. Oh well. So I'm going to temporarily put this to out off, which should shut at the TCAS, but hopefully this guy will bugger off soon, or be seen that he's messing around. Torrent Drew Fraser, have you ever had an engine fail in real life? Thankfully not. Thankfully not. Only in the sim. The CFM is a very, a very reliable engine. I mean, you always have bird strikes probability of that, but yeah, thankfully not yet. Den Top Sedge Command, is there any way to get hold of that livery of yours? It looks incredible. Yeah, hold on, I'll get you a link for it. Stand by. It was made by someone who follows my channel for free, which is really generous of him. Let's go on my YouTube community tab. I think one of the last few posts I had, it was there. It's somewhere. I might have to look it up somewhere else. Yeah, if you go on my Facebook page and look at the last few posts, like it was updated recently. AudioBird XP actually updated the paint scheme on it, so you can find a link for it too. Or if someone else could find the link, that would be pretty cool. So there's that guy. That is incredibly close. We'll just ignore him for now. Now we've got to remember to put the transponder back to TARA. That's something you wouldn't really want to do in real life, but it does turn it off for now. Abbas, have you ever had a hard landing more than 2.1 G? I've had hard landings, not any that's thankfully required inspection, but certainly when I started training, I did some good thumping landings, all safe. But yeah, that's just part and parcel of learning to be a pilot. And very occasionally, I do have quite a firm landing. Unfortunately, this public perception of hard landings being dangerous or that pilots can't fly simply is a load of cod's wallop. Sometimes you have to land quite firmly, especially if the runway's contaminated, especially if it's a short runway. So yeah, don't. I'm not G-rated. G-wise, I have no idea that you can measure it, but it's not available to us. It's all recorded externally or internally and then sent externally. So yeah, I haven't seen any of anything that hard, but certainly ones that would have wanted me to stay in the flight deck, let's say, after landing, so I don't have to see the passengers. Oh yeah, tree fella, livery finder, flight deck sim livery is here, and I guess if you post a link, it's going to probably block it, because I've got it, so if people post links, it doesn't work. Sorry about that, yeah, I need to change, but I will try and find it for you. Unfortunately, on my laptop at the moment, my battery's gone flat, so I cannot find it. Piranha Habits is me. ZIBO or PMDG, which one is close to the real NG? By far my most commonly answered question. They both have their... don't know why that's like that. They both have their advantages and disadvantages. NGX is obviously a finished product. All the systems work incredibly accurately with a very good failure management system. The ZIBO mod is still in development. A lot of features still need to be added, but for the fact that it works extremely well and utilises X-Plane 11, and it handles far better than the NGX with regards to pitch and power settings, I prefer the ZIBO mod, and especially as it's being developed completely free of charge by ZIBO for the community. It's just unbelievable. As I've said previously, every time it's updated it gets a bit better. Sometimes an update can break something, we have to fix it, but in time, I mean, if I look at, I think I've been using the mod for about a year now compared to when I started to now. It's an incredible bit of software, it really is. So yeah, I prefer the mod for that. Den, Gamad, are you going to do the return sector today? No, I'm not. Just one sector today. Those two sectors are very tiring, but I'm going out later. I've got a few other things I need to do, so it's just the one sector today, I'm afraid. New IT sooner or later, I would like to see a circle to land procedure. Well, if you look for my Alicante La Rochelle stream, which is I think 2 or 3 streams ago, we did a circle to land into La Rochelle. And I've got a circle to land tutorial as well, which explain how to do that procedure in the 737. I can't find this my livery there. No idea. Pila UK Flight Sim delivery is on the Org store under ZIBO liveries. Oh, okay. We might find it there. Cool. So let's have a look, see if there's any ATC coverage coming in soon, and then we probably best start discussing the approach into Salzburg. Get the weather. Got a lot of messages, people asking for northerly winds or hoping for northerly winds, because that would mean doing the circling approach to runway 33, or there's an RNAV approach. We'll probably do the circle. but runway 15 in Salzburg has up to a 15 knot tailwind approval, so it'd have to be quite a strong northerly wind for it to be runway 33. I'm just getting the latest weather there too. So Salzburg showing, yeah, 170 at 4 knots, so it's definitely going to be ILS 15. A few clouds, 6 degrees 1015, so quite a nice evening down there. So we can preset the QNH 1015. So we're directly over Brussels. This is Charleroi, and if you look here, there we go. Brussels just to the north of us. We're heading off towards Luxembourg. Pretty much overhead Stuttgart, heading towards the northern part of the Alps, and then we're going to eastbound overhead Munich, and there's Salzburg at the foothills of the Alps there. But it will be dark. I really wish I wanted to start the stream 2 hours before, but there would have been no coverage in Salzburg, unfortunately. What systems are missing from the ZIBO mod? I see a few people asking. Well, the FMC is the basic functions are all working. You can fly routes there. The additional information, so all the cruise speeds. We need to find the data for that. The descent's all correct, and that's because they're fixed speeds based on your cost index. Some features, there's 2 progress pages missing, but on the whole, that's quite good. Fuel, air conditioning's all working, electrics I understand is working, so I said it, I mean, if I could put a percentage on how complete it is, I don't know, I'd say 85%. Certainly failure management issues as well, so if you had a certain failure, I'm never actually tested, but if the alternate flap system works, I don't know. You know, if ZIBO wants me to try something, I'll test it and tell him how it works, so it's usually based on feedback what he wants as well. So that guy's still messing around. Like I said, just keep an eye on him. Nevada Rock 75, will the TCAS warnings be fixed soon, and do you know the panel state safe function will be available? Thank you. So I'm actually trialling on this stream a kind of experimental new TCAS which ZIBO just fixed this morning and sent over to me. As you've seen, it's kind of already giving us warnings, but none of the symbols are currently implemented yet. Hopefully that's a system we'll get working very, very soon. The panel states, I know that's on his to-do list, ZIBO's to-do list, but it isn't currently working. I mean, I'm quite fortunate with the fact that when I test the aircraft, I can stick it on the runway, and within 2 minutes I know what flicks to which switches to flick, and I can just get airborne. But it would be quite useful to have. But whether that's coming soon, I'm not terribly sure. So yeah, I forgot to have a look at the VAT traffic app. We are coming up to some airspace soon, which does have control. It's center control, Echo Delta Golf Golf 127720. So we'll put that on a standby frequency. How long have we got till descent? Another 35 minutes or so. What's this? Elite Gamer. What is better aeroplane to fly in real? The 737 or 320? And Bloodline says, you ask a Boeing pilot for Boeing, whatever's better. Well, yeah, I think you know what I'm going to say. As I said 10 minutes ago, they all have their qualities, but I am a Boeing. I'm a Boeing boy. Blood through, and I even have a sticker on my desk that says if it ain't Boeing, it ain't going. If ain't Boeing, ain't going. That's it. There it is. Joe Biden, can you tell us some flying stories like emergencies or grumpy crew? We've always get the odd grumpy person you fly with. Well, thankfully I've not had anything too serious in my career. I've done about 4 go-arounds. Minor technical issues, nothing serious. I've had one technical issue which causes us to divert, associated with What was it? It was a system to do with the electrics, which caused the IDG to disconnect or something. It was a long time ago. It basically meant when you flew an approach in ILS, we got this display source annunciation. It's an electrical glitch. That's probably the most serious thing that happened. It wasn't that much of a problem. But yeah, no real exciting flying stories, I'm afraid. Done some very interesting approaches. But yeah, nothing that's nothing too untoward. Tree Filler, yeah, you found the Flight Data Sim livery, yeah. Michael Fogelman, that's the guy that wrote the, or developed the livery I use, which is pretty nice of him. There he is again. So if I put the transponder back to TAR, it's going to probably start screaming at me again. Yeah, same altitude and about, what's that, 2 miles ahead of us. Would not be a situation you'd find yourself in. Anyway, what we're going to start doing is setting up for the approach anyway into Salzburg based on ILS 1.5. So we'll get all the charts ready. We're going to need approach arrival. We're going to be flying the UNKEN 1 Romeo, so we need that. The approach is going to be arrival, nope, is approach ILS 1.5. It's an interesting approach, very sketchy go around as well. Missed approach if you have to go around here because there's mountains everywhere. We'll discuss that later. And we'll also need the airport info and parking stands. Which is here. Perfect. So, pop the FB out for the setup, and we'll start getting going. So we typically start setting up, if you're familiar with the airport, about 100 miles before top of descent, but we'll get that sorted now. This forecast is getting all the winds in. There we go. Cool, so these are the descent winds. Put in 310, 200 and 100. And we've got 23018. 200 is 2308. Oh no, I read that wrong. 23065 more like. There we go, 23018 for the next one. And 100 winds are 162 and 4. It is executed, and the QNH is 1015. And what's the temperature down there? It's about 4 or 5 degrees, so we'll just put -10. I'm meant to take the average of this and the cruise level, but we'll just use -10. Should work, but a slash. There we go. Cool. Manager Smith, would you say, how are the Navigraph charts in comparison with Jeppesen, using Jeppesen as of now? Very easy to use. It's a transition into other charts difficult. Well, Navigraph is Jeppesen, I think. Navigraph is the sim provider of charts, and they use Jeppesen charts. I think they used to use Navtech charts, which is actually the airline I work for. That's the charts they use. But yeah, they're fine. I mean, Jeppesen charts are one of the most popular chart providers, so the information it provides is really good. Cool. Runway 15. And we're going to configure get down flat 15 about 5 miles today, even though probably do it 4, but that's because it's got something called a very high missed approach climb gradient, and the speeds we want to fly and approach are a little bit higher than usual. We'll discuss that later. And let's have a look at the frequencies we need to tune. Salzburg 113.8. That's the VOR for the missed approach and the initial approach as well. Oh, I just got a private message. Bristol on, hello. I'm sorry I'm not trolling you, I'm just on the same flight route, the same altitude as you. I've just started pilot training in the UK and it's a pleasure to watch your videos. Oh, okay. Well, thank you very much. I'm glad you're not trolling me. Probably shouldn't be at 350, but not to worry. I think we probably requested the same cruise level. But yes, good luck with your flight training and I will see you on the ground in Salzburg. Cool. 109. I have no idea how to send a private message in Squawk Box. I need to look at the Squawk Box manual, I guess. But that isn't a feature you can do in real life. 1099 is the ILS, and the courses are 154 and 154. Good. Now the minimums on this chart, they're based on something called a missed approach climb gradient. Now, I've discussed this in a previous tutorial. Missed approach climb gradients is the ability of the aircraft to climb with an engine failed from minimums on the go around, and you have to meet this climb gradient to ensure you're clear of all obstacles. So we're a Category C aircraft, and the missed approach climb gradient here is based on you going straight ahead or on the turn. Now we're going to make a left turn on the missed approach. I think that's how this means here, because these charts are very different to the ones we use. And based on a 3% missed approach climb gradient, you'd use the Boeing OPT to confirm it. We can set the minimums of 1800 feet, which is 389 feet AGL. Typically, ILS minimums are, for Cat 1 is 200 feet. They're a little bit higher because we need to maintain this missed approach climb gradient of 3% in the event of a go around at minimums with the engine failed. So it always takes the worst case into scenario, because in Salzburg you cannot go straight ahead in the event of a go around with one or two engines. You're going to hit a mountain, so it's really important to check that. So we're going to set 1800 feet as the minimums today, which we'll do now. Excellent. RVR required. It's based on the lights, so if you've got all the lights available for a Category C aircraft, you need 1100 meters. If the approach light systems are out, you'll need 1800 meters RVR. PAPIs both sides. We also need to choose as an NDB here as well, 410, which will tune. Which would, in the event of us circling, we need to have that there as part of the procedure. There we go. Turn the lighting up now. The lights on this are so cool. I mean, this looks just... the colours all match. All the lights are really, really good. That's AudioBird XP's work. Got another message from someone. Bristol on, why am I getting TCAS alerts from you? Is it the ZIBO mod? Yes, I guess it is, but it's also probably down to the fact that you're only 2 miles ahead of me at the same altitude. You would be getting a TCAS alert perhaps, but maybe because we're going in the same direction it wouldn't be such an issue, because it's based on closure rates, how the real system works. Right, so let's step through the approach. Descent information is all programmed. Forecast winds and QNH in. We'll select flap 1 by 10 miles, and by 5 miles we'll go gear down flap 15. And the arrival we're flying is the UNKEN 1 Romeo. It's an RNAV arrival for runway 15 and 33. Very simple arrival. UNKEN got to be above 7,000 feet. So we can check at UNKEN. There it is, at or above 70. Can step through it as well. Awesome. After UNKEN, it's 11 miles, 044 to Whiskey Sierra 506. We've got 044 for 11 miles, so that matches. Whiskey Sierra 506, and then we route to the Salzburg VOR, which is the initial approach fix for runway 15. And there it is. Now this is a bit confusing because you've got two SBGs. You've got the initial VOR, and then there's a Salzburg NDB as well. Now, if we've been not cleared for the approach, when we get here to Salzburg, we've got to enter the hold. Now, the hold here, I think that's parallel entry. Yeah, we'll make a left turn, and then we'll go inbound onto the track there. I think that's parallel. We'll let the mod deal with that, and then make a left turn into the hold there as we enter there if we've not been cleared. Now, what I do anticipate, I hope, is before we get here is vectors. We'll get a vector here to fly east and then intercept the ILS. Now, to make sure everything's nice and under control, I just want to bring the aircraft nice and slow, let's say 220 knots. So we'll get the mod and VNAV to plan to be 220 knots or below at Whiskey Sierra 506. That just allows us, if we get a shortcut, to quickly configure, because we're at a decent speed, straight to flat 5, speed brake as well, and to hopefully capture the ILS smoothly. Now, once we are on there, one thing I just want to bring to your attention is the MSA. So you can see here to the south, 11,000 feet. So if, excuse my language, shit hits the fan, you want to be above this height. If you completely lose situation awareness, you're south of the Salzburg VOR, get up to this height, and then you're going to ensure you're clear of all terrain. Definitely head in a northerly direction where the MSA is lower, 4,000 feet. It's really important to highlight anything like that. Anyway, we expect vectors for the ILS. If not, the transition via the Salzburg VOR onto the localizer. Down we go. It's a 3-degree standard ILS, and I have some guidance actually from not the airfield, something called an airfield briefing, which is a document created by airlines to explain to you how to configure the approach. And we have one going into Salzburg, and it mentions here flat 40 is the flap setting we'd like you to use. It mentions that you want to fly a slightly higher approach speed, and that's to allow for the go around. Now, in the event of a go around, it's quite tricky. You've got to go straight ahead to 2 miles and make a left turn after 2 miles. If you go over 2 miles, you're going to get very, very close to terrain there. And we'd actually, in the event of go around, push toga button twice. That gives you maximum go around thrust, just to give you a better climb performance. And we'd leave the flaps in 15 to ensure that we turn this at a nice, slow, steady speed, because there are speed restrictions here. Look, Category C, missed approach, maximum 165 knots. And flat 15 should ensure that that's the case. And then once we're there, we're going to fly inbound to the Sierra India and DB, and then we go towards the Salzburg VOR, climbing to 6,000 feet. So that's the missed approach. Quite a tricky one. Quite a tricky one there. We discussed the MSA, we've checked the frequencies, they're all tuned, and we've got the full approach lights and PAPIs left and right. You can actually do a Cat 2 and Cat 3 here into Salzburg. Now, landing performance wise, there we go, runway 15, it's how long? 2,750 metres. There is a displaced threshold, so the landing distance available for runway 15 is beyond the glide slope 2,100 metres, so it's getting reasonably short, so that's why we want to use flat 40. And we will plan to vacate here Echo. If not, we'll miss it Foxtrot, and it's quite a nice simple apron in via one of the exit gates, exit 4, exit 3, exit 2, or exit 1. We'll see where they give us, and then we'll taxi onto Stand that way. I've already purchased the Salzburg scenery, so we should have all the correct stand information there. And that is essentially it. That's the briefing covered. All we need to do is the performance, which I've already done. Arriving with 3.6 tons. Our alternate is, excuse my Austrian, Linz. How do you pronounce that? Linz. It's Lima Oscar Whiskey Lima, just to the north. We have sufficient fuel for that. And we took a little bit extra just in case we had to hold about an extra 30 minutes. But anyway, we're going to burn now another 1,100 kilos prior to landing. So our landing weight's going to be easy maths for us. 62 tons. There we go. Flat 40. Water brake 3. We'll go idle reverse because it's the last flight of the day. We're not going to do a return sector. And then vacate as briefed and discussed. And that's it. We're all set up ready for the ILS approach. It should definitely be the ILS. If it's not, it'll be the circling approach, which, if it is, we'll enter the hold to set up and brief properly. But the circling approach, you essentially fly the same ILS approach. It's a little bit different to a conventional circle. You break off early, make a left turn, and then when you're 3.5 miles, you make a turn final. But if that happens, we'll discuss it and brief it in the hold at Salzburg. Cool, so that's all it. Sorry, I'm quite busy briefing, so I would have missed a heck of a few questions there, but that's what I'm sure most of you are here to see, is me doing all the approach briefings correctly, as I would do in real life. We'd also discuss other things We talked about CRM earlier, you know, some of the threats and things you've got to be very cautious of going into Salzburg. Well, obviously the terrain to the south is very high. We discussed the ILS requirements, the higher minimums. Now, nav aids are confusing because we've got the NDB and VR the same. So these are things that we'd highlight in the briefing. You know, so both crew are familiar with all the things that could possibly go wrong. So if we see it going wrong, we can recognise it and recover to safe flight. Awesome, and at that point you can then simply read the descent checklist. Which, yeah, I wonder if the light's working here. No, it's not programmed yet. But anyway, it's quite difficult to see. We'll put the dome light on for now. Oops, there we go. And yeah, here's the descent checklist. So pressurization, land out is set, 1400 feet. The anti-ice is off. Approach, brief and fuel, we've discussed that. And we have sufficient fuel to hold for about 20 minutes if we were to divert then to Linz. And the IAS and altitude bugs, we've got VREF set, the minimums of 1800 feet set, and the QNH is set as well. And that's it, that's the descent checklist complete. Good. So I think I'm actually in some controlled airspace at the moment. I probably should be talking to someone. Echo Delta Golf Golf Center. It says I'm in his airspace, but it's only for a short while. 127720 apparently. But before I do that, I'm just going to take the opportunity to have a very quick break back, guys. So I'll be back in 2 minutes. I know you shouldn't do it on the vaccine network. I'll just nip to the toilet and I'll be straight back with you. I'll leave you in the capable hands of our cabin crew in the galley seats. I'll see you very shortly. Cool, so I'm back. Thanks for that, guys. Just have a little toilet break before we get a little bit busier into Salzburg. Madu Brahma, do you have a favourite song or band? If so, what is it? Yeah, I do like my music. I like some of the classics. The Who's probably my favourite band, as it was my father's. I love listening to all those sort of tracks and stuff. Kind of indie music as well. So I'm not too fussed really. I like all sorts of genres. I actually like a bit of classical music as well, which sounds incredible. But whacking that on there. A lot of movie scores as well. Love playing like Lord of the Rings music and stuff. It's all a bit sad, but that's me. That's me. Adam P. Hi, Flight Sim. I was a CPL student but had to stop for financial reasons, so I resorted to simming. And I've been enjoying your streams ever since. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. Don't give up on your career though, if you got so far. I mean, I don't know what your position is there, but I had a lot of debt and I worked at a supermarket selling chickens for 5 years to actually save up any sort of money. But yeah, if you simming is certainly one way to still enjoy some of the experience and stuff. But thank you very much. So I am in this centre here. I mean, I'm about to go out it again. I mean, he would usually message me to contact. Oh yeah, look, he has. Whoops, 12772. I'm not very good at this. Pacific.
Lufthansa 557, negative surveyors, only accompany traffic, Airbus 320 taxiing on Papa.
So this guy sounds nice and clear.
Hey Roger, thank you, will... Away.
So this would be...
London radar, good evening, 3755 on flight level
London radar, but we'll call him radar.
390.
We'll check in with him anyway.
755, London radar, hello.
Ryan radar, there we go.
4077.
What's Guten Tag, it's good afternoon, isn't it?
077 for Swiss 755.
Cool, check in and see what he says. Ryan radar, Guten Tag, broadsword 01, flight level 350, inbound to UTABA.
Broadsword 01, Langen radar, good evening, identified.
Langen radar, not Rhine. Whoops. That's that TCAS is going off all over the place.
Gen 3 Mike Foxtrot.
So we got, I don't know where that guy was, it was the same level. He's got a few miles ahead now.
Continue on Unicom
So you got
123.
aircraft 2,000 feet above and 2,000 feet below. So there they are, look, that's pretty cool. And I guess we're all going into Salzburg, which will be awesome. We'll have to get sequenced soon. So yeah, this often happens. I do a lot of destinations in Spain from the UK, and all the traffic going from UK, Spain, say Alicante, Valencia, Malaga, we're all in a queue like this. So they actually start sequencing traffic when you overhead France. So they give you different max speeds, so they all separate you. Otherwise, you just stay at your respective airlines, you know, cost index, econ, cruise speed. But that's probably something they won't consider in VATSIM. So we're going to probably end up in Salzburg in very similar positions, getting on top of each other. We'll see how it gets on. That's why I took a little bit of extra fuel. If you look at the flight plan, charts, we've got airports, no, not airports, charts, there we go. So you can see the minimum required block fuel was 6845, so 69. Now if the weather was absolutely fine, I'd take that, be happy with that. But I actually took about an extra 30 minutes extra fuel to allow for, you know, problems on VATSIM, holding. And a really good rule of thumb, guys, if you want to take extra fuel, is use time. Don't use the amount of kilo fuels. And if you use 2.4 tons an hour for the 737-800, that works really well as a conservative figure. So if you want an extra 30 minutes of fuel, half that, that'd be 1.2 tons. If you want 15 minutes, that'd be 600 kilos of fuel. So I took 1,200 kilos, which is 30 minutes extra to allow for that. Just for those discrepancies in problems with congestion, as it is it's a VATSIM event today in Salzburg, so it will be very, very busy. And we take extra fuel if we anticipate it to be very busy, especially at large airports like Heathrow, Madrid at certain times. You can get really congested with, you know, holding's quite common there. So I'm glad I got all the briefing done, so I can really concentrate on the ATC, and hopefully they won't change the runway in Salzburg, but I'll just check the latest weather. So Salzburg's currently showing latest METAR, yeah, 1604, 100% going to be ILS 15.
Alpha 2-1,
Mike at 84k, how do you manage to load all of your ortho scenery and explain if your hard drive is 500 gigabytes? Yeah, I should update that. I have an external SATA hard drive, it's 8 terabytes, of which I've got 6.5 terabytes of ortho 4XP, which covers pretty much all of Europe, base level 17. Tree filler. So I get a job in Tesco, start on fruit and veg, go to fish, then chickens, and 737. How hard can it be? Exactly. selling chickens at when I was 16, between 16 and 22. And it was Morrison's, not Tesco. Jacob, Salzburg is sadly not busy at all on VATSIM. Oh, that's a shame at the moment, but they've got approach and they've certainly got 4 aircraft within 10 square miles of where I am coming in, so he will get busy. But yeah, it would have been awesome if we were landing in this kind of purpley sunset. It would have been wicked, but yeah, just delayed that departure. It's going to be completely dark by the time we get there.
Transport 02, you're leaving my airspace, Unicom 122.8, bye-bye.
So that's our colleague.
Lufthansa 133, turn left, heading 100.
Left heading 100, Lufthansa 133.
And Bridgeport 01, you're also shortly leaving my airspace. Continue on Unicom 122.8, bye-bye, have a nice flight.
Unicom 122.8, broadsword 01, thanks to the service, good evening. Excellent. So that was a short sector, but yeah, this VATSIM's really good for the coverage. I think this is my 4th or 5th ever flight on VATSIM. It's very, very good. Very good. Cool. So yeah, Salzburg is a really cool destination, and I think I mentioned earlier in the stream, my next stream I'm planning is actually an offline stream and an educational stream. I might just go to Salzburg and we'll just do some go around so I can show you how to do that. I'm not planning on going around today or anything, because I like to do these flights. The streams where I go from 2 destinations on VATSIM, I really want to do exactly as I do in real life, within the realms of a desktop simulator. But yeah, we'll do some tutorials or test streams in the ZIBO mod. So traffic's just 2,000 feet below us. There he is. That's so cool. You can see all the traffic. Yeah, really, really nice. Dwayne Douglas, what camera system are you using? This is just default X-Plane 11 camera. No add-ons at all. You can assign keys. So I have 1 on my number pad is this view, 2 is the MCP, 3 is the FMC, 4 is the overhead panel, 5 is the upper overhead panel, 6 is the pedestal, 7 is the left wing view, 8 is the right wing view, and then 9 is the first officer's seat, and that's all I use primarily. But you can use the arrows to walk around the cabin, which is really cool. I mean, this is obviously a massive security wish, unless you need a toilet. But yeah, you can. I'm just using the buttons to walk around. Default camera. There you go. Fly Deck to Sim now offering first class service as well as economy. There we go. Yeah, it's just really, really cool. And then you can just simply walk back in, or just press any of the buttons on the numpad to what you want. So 1 back into flight deck. We'll shut the door so we don't hear the PA about passenger Escobar with his special meal. Barnabas Tazzy, hi. Could you go into details in connection with the cabin temperature panel, and also what are equipment cooling switches for? Thanks and appreciate your videos. So, it's a very archaic system on the 737. It hasn't really changed that much since the reverse 737 comes out. But this is the pressurization, this is the temperature here. Now, temperature comes from packs, so engine bleed is tapped from the engines. They go through something called a pack. The pack conditions and cools the air, and that's what goes into the cabin. And we have these 3 switches. Now, conch cabin is for the flight deck, forward of the cabin is the front half of the cabin, and this is the aft part of the cabin. So this is flight deck here. And we have a rule of thumb, actually. If you put this line on A, this line on the U, and this line on the T, it kind of gives you an average decent temperature in the cabin. So this is the temperature of the air from the pack. This is the temperature... Oh no, these are the temperatures of the pack. The supply duct, I think, is upstream of the bleed. Can't remember exactly. And the passenger cabin is the important one. That's what the passengers feel. So if the cabin crew or passengers said, you know, it was a bit cold in the cabin, we just simply move these up slightly like this, you know, like that. And you can already see, look, the temperature's increasing. Probably wouldn't go quite as quick in the cabin there, but you'd get a very quick change in the supply duct. And and you know, it varies from aircraft to aircraft. So some you can turn it like this and it would get wouldn't get very hot at all. Some you literally turn it like that and it'd be very hot in the back. The older aircraft, certainly I find you have to move these more than the new aircraft. I don't know why, what causes that. But yeah, that's the air conditioning panel. Oh yeah, equipment cooling. So this, you know, all the electronics we have in here, and the E&E bay, or engine electronics bay, which is below the flight deck, it produces an awful a lot of heat. So that heat has to be distributed, you know, just like your PC, where you have a cooling fan, has to be distributed outside of that. Into, I think it goes into the cargo bay, but I'll have to review FCOM 2 there. So that's what equipment cooling does. And there's an alternate system as well in case the primary way doesn't work. If those are off, you know, just like your PC, you know, you could have things overheating, and you don't want anything overheating electrically on any aircraft. So yeah, that's in a nutshell what those systems do. Torrin Drew Fraser, that's why it smells like KFC after a bird strike. Absolutely. So yeah, if you have engines, birds go through the engine, combustion chamber is obviously very hot, that cooks, and anything, it goes through the bleeds, and yeah, you can smell it in the air conditioning system. You've got to be really careful as well when you're de-icing. We actually disconnect the engine bleed, so you know, you don't want de-icing fluid going through the engine and into the air conditioning system, because the fumes are pretty strong. You know, it could have some side effects there. But yeah, anything that goes through the engine, it can end up in the air conditioning system. And you often see in the news about aircraft where passengers and crew have felt sick. It's usually when some part of oil or something's leaked into the air conditioning system. It's been vented there. So yeah, that's how it works. Awesome. So can't be too far off Stuttgart now. Oops, keep that open for now. What do I want? What do I want? Avitab map. There we go. Memmingen and Munich's here, and there's Lake. Is it Lake Geneva there? No, it's a bit further on there. Bern. So we're just coming to the foothold of the Alps, and then we'll make a turn eastbound towards Salzburg very shortly. There's Innsbruck. I know a lot of people want you to see me land there. I need to get the charts and have a look at that circling procedure there for you. David Van Gran, been watching you for a while. I'm 16, just started my PPL, and want to become ATP, or airline pilot, I guess. Is there a point in flight simming? I have explained already, but no yoke or pedals. Well, yeah, I've used flight simming since I was 10. Younger than you, more out of a hobby previously, and I've used it throughout my own flight training. But yeah, there is a good point to it. I used, for this CPLII, I certainly did instrument flying on the Carenado Seneca on FSX. That helped, not from the handling. I used to use the basic autopilot there, but certainly for instrument flying it was pretty useful. There's some really good basic instrument software called RANT XL, R-A-N-T XL. If you're interested in instrument flying, it's a very good purchase if you want to build proficiency in that. So yeah, that's what I'd recommend. But yeah, there is a good point to simming, and get yourself some yoke and pedals. Yeah, don't go flying around with a keyboard. It could be difficult, but you don't need to use simming. I mean, I'd say we're a minority. I'd say out of all my colleagues, well, maybe a quarter have used simming. Some people sim more than I do, believe it or not. And I don't go about in my airline saying what I do. People, you know, it's something I like to keep quite low key. But sometimes I have people recognise my voice and they go, "Oh, I like the videos and stuff." So yeah. Drunk Winter, how is the air from the engines being cooled? Using air conditioning packs. Air conditioning packs that cools the hot bleed air to a temperature that's reasonable in the cabin, and you have something called trim air, which can then again distribute the air and control the temperature upstream of the packs into each zone. But yeah, FCOM 2 is going to be a far better descriptor than my basic knowledge off the tip of my tongue. So I've got a question for you guys. I see on VATSIM that the approach is active, I think, in Salzburg. At what point do I contact him? Do I wait for him to buzz me, or do I just check in? I don't want to be, you know, too far out and call him up and he's busy and tells me to check back in. So I see it's active, because usually every other VATSIM event I've done or flown online, I've already had control and they've handed me over to approach. Cool. So there we go. There's our colleague also flying the turn. That's cool. Inbound to Gapto. So yeah, I know a lot of people don't like this. Curved lines will come eventually, but it is working correctly. You see how the end of this vector is perfectly on the magenta line. It's just depicting that magenta line isn't a feature yet. It will be in time, I have no doubt. He'll contact me. Thanks, guys. Just wait for the contact me. Thanks, Aviation Pro. Yeah, guys, Aviation Pro, VATSIM expert. Really, I actually watched a few of his videos to get up to speed, flick through them to see how VATSIM works. It is a little different to online, and it did help. So I guess as I approach top of descent, this is where I've got to be really careful, because the aircraft's going to descend and there's traffic just 2,000 feet below me with no ATC. You could easily get quite close to each other. It could be quite interesting. Nepal Virtual Aviation Captain Nirajan, where are we going? We're going to Salzburg. We're going to Salzburg, right in Austria. We've just come from Bristol in the UK. Twist, so I was wondering which book I could start with. You start your flight training. I want to start next year on January, but before I want to start with theory, just speed up the process a little bit. Yeah, where do you start? ATP basic exams, there's loads. There's so much you have to learn. Hardest thing I've ever done is those theory exams and the instrument rating. And still to this day, you know, I teach people how to fly the 737. Every day I learn something slightly different or new. The amount of volume of information you need to know is incredible. You know, so you're often having to refer things. We have iPads now which cover, you know, it's great. You can search the feature you're looking for, information, look it up. There's so much you need to know. So much you need to know. Alright, so we better get going down. I'll imagine, I don't know, this is where I don't know what to do because there's no one online. So we're just going to set an initially 150 as a generic flight level, whacking out into vent. Why is that not descending? There we go. We've just got to be a bit careful, remember. So we're a bit high on path, just make sure it doesn't dive too crazy for the speed. Oh look, we're going to undercut our colleague here. Hopefully he won't descend on top of our heads. Cool. Actually, what is the... There we go. Salzburg approach 123720. Or we can put him on standby. We'll see if we can get the ATIS as well, which is 13332. Now this is something pilot monitoring would obviously do. He'd handle all radios. You'd never be pilot flying of an aircraft and listening to an ATIS. That's why there's two of us there. Oh, there's the traffic. Oh, that looked good. Perfect. So VNAV's just going to go level change because I'm a bit worried it's going to dive for that profile soon. And we're just going to change this to 273 knots, which is our indicated airspeed. And we might just use a bit of speed brake later to recapture the profile. You can see it's just working on it. It's quite aggressive making that pitch up. It's a lot better than it was, but now it's certainly getting better. Cool. And set the bank angle to 25 degrees as we get below flight level 300. Let's have a listen to this ATIS. Do I have to do this? Maybe. Shh. Oh yeah, I have to tune it first. That will help. Excellent. So I'm going to cheat again, so we have to listen. So information Charlie, expect runway 15, departure runway 33. Surface wind is 1604 knots, visibility plus 10, fuel at 4000, broken at 75. Temperature 6, dew point 4, QNH 1015, and advised information Charlie. So that's a lovely evening down in Salzburg. So it's just a straight in ILS for runway 15. Good. So see how the VNAV profile's capture getting away from us here. So if you go to progress, you can always rule of thumb work out how high you are. So if you take this is your distance, times it by 324, we're at 28, so we are getting high. So what we're going to do is bring this speed up to about 300 knots, and whoa, autopilot disconnected for some reason. That needs a bit of work. I think if you make big changes, the autopilot is disconnecting. There we go. And that's going to help with the profile. We're just going to use a little bit of speed brake, and we've got it now. So when it's in the armed flight, in the flight D10 position, the speed brake arm light stays illuminated, which is correct. You know, it was extinguishing, so it's quite easy to now remember that you have it extended. So you can see with speed brake 300 knots above our target speed, the profile's slowly coming back in now. But if you want to learn more about that, I've got a good. Well, I say I've got a good. You guys are the judge. I've got a high energy approach tutorial which kind of discusses some of the options you can do above and below flight level 100 if you're high on profile. Cool. I did put the transponder back on, didn't I? TARE, there we go. Excellent. Basha Echo, you can start descent and continue until approach contacts you if center is not online. Cool. Thank you. So again, not much to see, but if it was day, you get the lovely Alps in view here. It's just this time of year, guys, and streaming. You know, it's 4:30 in the UK, but it's dark now, and I'm only ever, guys, going to stream live weather for if I'm doing a proper flight, just for absolute maximum immersion, because it's cool to see what people would be doing right now in that same airport. I think, anyway. Cameron Hudson, out of curiosity, is there a go-to range that you leave on the MFD, I guess, for the range? Yes, and would you say ATPL or MPL? I'm looking to apply in the new year. So yeah, I mean, there's no general rule. If there's a weather around, you probably want it increased up to about 80 miles to have a good look ahead. I mean, the closer you get into the airport, you want to have the airport in view, so just increase the range as you get closer. But there's no rule of thumb. Regarding MPL, I don't know much about it. Isn't that, I think EasyJet ran an MPL scheme years ago. Yeah, you basically don't do your PPL or something. I don't know much about it. I personally recommend a full ATPL, so you fly all the light aircraft, do all other stuff. There we go, private message 12372, so we'll contact this guy and tell him we have information Charlie.
And it's for Alpha, descend 8,000 feet, KENET 1015.
Nav.
Descend 8,000 feet, KENET 1015, run at C12.
Salzburg approach, good evening, broadsword 01, descending flight level 150 inbound to BADVI, information Charlie, QNH 1015.
Broadsword 01, Salzburg radar, good evening, Squawk 1000, information Delta is currently expected as 15.
Squawk 1000, listen to Delta, and ILS 15, broadsword 01. So he wants to change the squawk, but he sometimes wants that.
01, stop correction, descend flight level 120.
Descend flight level 120, broadsword 01. So that's set 120 checked, and we're now in VNAV and back on the bridge.
Fly heading 055 degrees, descend 8,000 feet, QNH 1015.
Perfect, so he's sequenced us. There is traffic very close ahead of us, but much higher, and traffic ahead of us much lower. So he's probably working out how he's going to sequence this. Might
approach Ryanair.
Might need to put someone in a hold. We'll see what he does.
Descending 170.
Perfect. Get rid of the speed brake now because the speed's back under control.
Information Charlie for runway 15, QNH 1015.
272, that Whiskey Salzburg Radar, good evening, squawk 1000, stop descent flight over 50, information Delta, turn, expect a approach.
So I'm guessing he's just putting everyone on the same squawk, so it's easy for him to identify who he's controlling, which is fair enough. So 150, seatbelt sign on. And again, just keep doing the maths, make sure you're on profile. About 50 miles to run.
Descent 5,000 feet.
We should be at around 150, which we are, so it's looking good.
5,000 feet, right at Tipo Alpha.
272, Juliet, Mike, did you copy?
127 Juliet Whiskey. Just say again, your mic's quite low there.
27 Juliet, Mike, sorry for that. Squawk 1000, information Delta is current.
So he's probably on X-Plane if he can barely hear him, because I know it is quieter on X-Plane, Vincent.
Squawk 1000, information Delta.
And bottom line, €2 coming in with a tip there, thank you very much. Here's to a safe landing, thank you very much. I've just turned the alert box off so it won't pop up there because I want you to
01, turn left heading 055 degrees, continue descent 8,000 feet and QNH 1015.
Left heading 055 degrees, descend flight level, descend altitude 8,000 feet, QNH 1015, broadsword 01. What is the mod doing? Command keeps disconnecting the autopilot there. So, 8,000 feet checked, heading, and QNH 1015, passing 11,800 for 5. I just need to confirm the cleared altitude now. This is why there's two of you guys, because I've got so much information, then the autopilot disconnected as well. I think he said 8,000, but always confirm if you're not sure. Broadsword 01, could you confirm the cleared altitude?
Broadsword 01, 8,000 feet.
Send altitude 8,000 feet, broadsword 01, thank you. So when you ever have any, if you're never sure about what ATC's told you, always request, again to repeat it, you know, obviously autopilot disconnected, single pilot, PM would be doing just the radio comm so you won't forget as much. And avoid saying, were we cleared to descend 8,000, you know, ask him to request the actual altitude so you don't have any confusion there. Good, so I'm just going to update the FMC just to give myself some better guidance. I'm just going to route direct to this waypoint here. There we go. And we can now do the, oh Christ, I've not been monitoring our speed, so yeah, 250 knots below 100.
Descent 5,000 feet.
Descent 5,000 feet.
So level change, yeah, it's behaving a lot better. You might notice in earlier versions here, it really pitches up there. We're just going to use a bit of speed brake again to avoid getting high. You get away with this just about, you know, you don't need to be doing, you know, 9,900. If you're doing like 260, it's okay. So guys, I'm going to really be avoiding questions now. The last 10,000 feet, I really want to concentrate and not make any mistakes. But I will try and answer them after we've landed. So we're getting a bit high here. I'll probably consider going 220 knots and flaps soon. We're okay for now because we've only got 1,000 feet to our 8,000 feet to our cleared altitude. Approach checks then, frequencies. We have the ILS we need to now tune 1099.
Broadsword 01, descent 6,000 feet.
Send altitude 6,000 feet, broadsword 01. So 6,000 feet set, checked, and we've got level change in for now. Frequency got, range rings we have for runway 15, 5 and 10 miles. Standby instruments are set, arm approach, inbound course is 2. We're just waiting for the identification for the ILS. So we're just going to bring the speed back to 220 knots now because I want to start configuring flaps and slowing down because we're about 600 feet high, but keep the speed brake out still to keep it slow. And that's sort of
left heading 025 degrees.
Left heading 025 degrees, broadsword 01. So yeah, for some reason that autopilot keeps disconnecting.
For Alpha for intercept descent 3,500
config. Where is the
3,000 feet right at Tipo Alpha.
Got the feature which allows you yoke moving off. Just turn that off for now. On the real aircraft, I think maybe it could be causing a bit of sensitivity issue. You know, I'm knocking something which is making it disconnecting. We better put tower on standby, which is 1181. And put the engine anti-ice on as well.
7 Juliet Whiskey, descend 1000 feet, KENET 1015.
Good, yeah, 3 degrees.
Ryanair 27 Juliet Whiskey, say again, altitude. Ryanair 27 Juliet.
Perfect. So we're in a better position now. Yeah, we're getting back onto profile. Don't just base it off this, because we're going in this direction. You know, we're getting back onto profile. If we were going in this position, we'd be high, but he's vectoring us to the north, so we can get rid of.
One descent 4000 feet.
Descend altitude 4,000 feet, broadsword 01. So set 4,000 feet chase. I'm just going to keep it in level change. I don't want to use VNAV because it's based off this profile. Then when you're under vectors, you know, you just keep updating the FMC, which will keep your VNAV profile updated. You can see we're getting, well, about 800 feet high, but that's based on us turning right now. So we're absolutely fine right now. Cool.
Turn right heading 110 degrees. Clear the left approach runway 15.
Right heading 110 degrees on that heading, cleared ILS runway 15 broadsword 01. So he's given us an intercept there. That's looking quite good for a CDA, and I've gone straight away to flap 1, guys. And you can see the flap extension times have been improved. It's still a little bit too much increase in lift, which is causing the aircraft to balloon slightly, but it is getting much better. Yeah, landing lights well done. I didn't do the pre-cruise fuel lights, APU off. Set seatbelts on. Checks complete. Cool. So no flap 5 now. We are cleared approach. There we go, Vorlock Glidestone capture. Runway heading 154. Missed approach altitude 6,000 feet is set. And we're definitely going to go flap 10 because our speed is going a little bit higher there. Cool. So yeah, I did forget the pre-cruise chase was busy doing something else, wasn't I? So fuel lights all set. We're on the ILS now anyway. Flap 10. There we go. Nice CDA for you.
Information Delta is current. Expect let us approach runway 15.
And there we go, out clouds. You can now pop the engine anti-ice off. Oh yeah, don't forget to put your logo light on at night time below 10,000 feet as well. Broadsword 01 established, ILS 15, 13 miles.
Broadsword 01, thank you very much. Speed, actually free speed, tower 118.1.
Free speed tower 118.1 broadsword 01. Good evening. Excellent. So yeah, that was a nice little CDA. You know, just usually saw I'm manipulating the automation to get the job done. We don't just sit there in LNAV and VNAV all day. Use this as a toolbox and use the modes to keep the aircraft descending efficiently as possible. Excellent. So yeah, we'll continue until we're about 5 miles away to configure get out flap 15, and we'll check in with tower. Salzburg Tower, good evening. Broadsword 01, ILS 15, 11 miles.
Broadsword 0, Salzburg Tower, good evening. Continue approach number 3, wind 160 degrees 4 knots and speed 160 or less.
Continue approach, speed 160 or less, broadsword 01. Now, unfortunately, the only way to give in 160 or less is to put the gear and flap 15 down, which is a pain, but he wants us to comply with that. We can never bug below this speed. So we're going to go gear down, flap 15, and that's, yeah, that's good for him. Look, 160 or less. It's not great for us because we're having to burn a bit more fuel, but we have to comply with any speed he wants. But you can never bug below these speeds without the flaps, so I can't fly less than this. Otherwise you'll fall out the sky.
Right, people Alpha, vacated runway 15 fire echo.
Broadsword 02, wind 160 degrees 4 knots, turn 15, clear left.
2500.
So the guy ahead of us got his landing clearance, broadsword 02. And we won't select the landing flap until we're about, you know, 1100 feet above ground. Well, he can't be.
02, wind
Can't be giving me the landing clearance because there's traffic ahead of us. There we go. Perfect. So we'd seek the cabin crew for landing. At this point here, you know, they'd be getting the cabin secure, and we move this switch here to remind us that's happened.
Ryanair 24 Alpha, stand off choice.
So it sounds like just whacking people any standard choice, which is fine. We just can't get a lost taxi. Cool. So you can see the thrust's up. You know, this is if you're an airline that has hundreds of aircraft and you're having to configure get out flat 15 at 8 miles, you know, it's a big fuel bill that adds up there. It's not dangerous configuring there, but at 4 miles, it's very safe and efficient. It's just that he wanted 160 knots or less because the aircraft's just not that many miles ahead of us. In the event we go around, we'll push toga. We go around, we'll select flat 15, set ground thrust, positive rate of climb, gear up, straight ahead 2 miles, left turn inbound to the Salzburg VOR. Cool, we can now select the landing flap then, flat 30, match speeds.
Salzburg Tower, Ryanair 27 Juliet Whiskey.
Checked.
On runway 15.
And flaps 40, so we can now select landing flap.
Ryanair 27 Juliet Whiskey.
40. Flaps, we've got 40, 40, green light, just holding on the landing lights for our clearance.
Continue approach.
So it's a good job we did configure to that speed, because that guy
Ryanair
is...
27 Juliet Whiskey.
Ooh, it's going to be tight. He's not yet vacated, so... Oh, this could be exciting.
Broadsword 01, expect late clearance.
Broadsword 01, roger. So start switches continuous, recall check, speed brake on, green light, landing gear down, 3 green, order
Broadsword 01,
brake
wind 15 degrees, 4 knots, runway 15 to the land.
Clear to land runway 15, broadsword 01. Okay, landing clearance is given, minimums continue, disconnect the autopilot order throttle.
Broadsword 2, welcome to Salzburg. Exit to the airplane via Lima, exit 4, stand of choice.
Keep those pappies, 2 reds, 2 whites, looking primarily outside now. Try not to hit the lamppost with your main gear. That's really tight. So 3 reds, the slightest change. There we go, back to the pappies now. Keep it on the centre line, wind straight down the runway pretty much. Check, close, just hold the attitude. Whoa, that was a bad landing. That's how I land, guys. Speed brake up, reverses. Gonna go wide or reverse. That must have been hard. Oh dear. 100 knots. 80 knots. Hold on to your T, lads. That's what you get when you fly with Flydeck to Sim Airlines. So keep the speed going up, you know, because there's traffic behind us. We don't want to just brake, slow down as long as possible. And we'll vacate straight to Echo. Good. Don't start retracting flaps and all that sort of stuff.
Welcome to Salzburg. Exit to the apron via Lima and exit 4, stand of choice.
Taxi apron via Lima and exit 4 for a freestand broadsword 01. Excellent. That was a hard landing. That was very, very firm, but safe. That's what we call a kind of contaminated runway landing. I kind of saw it coming as well. Anyway, cancel reverse. Can now stow the speed brake. Got our taxi clearance as well. We will definitely replay that. Oops, I think I forgot to put the start switches in continuous. Yeah, my bad. Because we've got such a late clearance and stuff, I was concentrating on that, and I didn't actually run the landing checklist. But that's a bit of a no-no. But that is the life of a single pilot on VADSIM on a complex aircraft.
Ryanair 27 Juliet Whiskey.
Perfect. So exit 4 is going to be the first left. Track those flaps. It got busy here in the end. It was quite a good sequence. The controller did a fantastic job sequencing everyone, I thought. Flight director's off. These can now go off. Probes off as well. Cool. I'll have a look at some of the banter and the comments in a second. It was probably pouring in. Right, let's get back onto stand. We'll put any stand here. So if we get this chart here, you can see, look, here's exit 4 on the left there. And this is a bit more detailed for us. There we go. So we're coming in here, and we'll just pick any of the stands on the main apron. We'll get that APU started too. Yeah, please do not judge my ability to fly on a desktop simulator to my ability to fly in real life. So yeah, I think I just objected the landing checklist there, but that was because of everything that was going on there. Start switches, I am the speed brake, I think I remembered that. Flap 40, we got that as well. So that's it, nice, gentle taxi on into stand. There's the guy who we followed all the way from Bristol, and a couple of other aircraft too. I don't know if there's any marshalling guidance here in this scenery, I'm not sure. We will go for... Let's take the next left onto that stand and try not to hit any of the baggage carts or anything. We'll take Whiskey 6 here on the left. Perfect. So yeah, that was cool, that American Airlines broadsword. We followed all the way from Bristol. Perfect, buses are waiting, so passengers will be happy.
Ryanair 27 Juliet Whiskey, welcome to Salzburg. The apron via
Excellent, no
exit
marshalling
4.
guidance, but not to worry. Nice and slow onto apron.
To the apron via
Excellent,
Lima,
there we go.
exit 4.
Parking brake sets,
Ryanair
2
27
blues,
Whiskey.
1 red, engine stead. And now let's do the shutdown checklist.
Good evening, Salzburg Tower, Ryanair Whiskey.
These off. These can go off now. This is the last flight of the day.
Laurea 970 Whiskey, Salzburg Tower, Servus, wind 150 degrees 4 knots, turning 150.
Okay, everyone undoing the seatbelts. That's really good, really immersive. I love it. Wait for the anti-collision light off. We just wait until 20% N2, just so no one goes towards an engine that's spinning around. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Salzburg. Local time is, well, it's +1 hour, so 1747. On time schedule. Now, before we do the replay, I just want to read some of the comments about the landing, just for a bit of banter. Get off our runway, not continuous. Continuous starts. Oh yeah, so I forgot that there. Whoops there. Ouch. At least it prevents people from clapping in the cabin. Put your teeth back in. Could actually feel that in my back. Pouring it out. Keep it coming, guys. I love it. Smooth landings cost extra. Yeah, that would have been, I don't know what in feet per minute that is. We don't measure those sort of things in reality, but yeah, probably 400 or 500. Drunk Winter, why do you leave one pump on? Is to make sure that the fuel is pressurized towards the APU. You can turn it off, but it just extends the life of the APU fuel pressure or something like that. So we leave one on whilst the APU is running. So we'll say thanks to the guy, and then we'll disconnect to have a look at the replay. Broadsword 0, I'm on stand now. Thank you very much for the service. Good evening. I think they appreciate that as well, as I would. Or has he gone already?
Thank you very much for flying to Salzburg. See you soon.
Cool. So he's gone. We can go and disconnect from Squawk Box. Cool. Right, now let's have a look at this replay. Actually, what I could do is just put this to daytime so we can see it in day, so it's a little bit clearer. Let's just put 16. Now, that's the kind of time I would have liked to have landed here, so you can actually see how horrific that landing was. View replay. Oh, you have to change the time. Oh, it does that? That's a pain. Let's go from there.
2500.
Time. Oh, it won't let you change it during the replay. Well, that's a pain. Anyway, we'll try and see it in the dark from the passenger view. We'll see if the wingtip hits the runway, which it probably did. I thought you could change the time in the replay, but probably not, which makes sense. Perfect. Let's get a bit closer in. Perfect.
400.
Let's do the
300.
threshold view first. I don't know if we'll be able to see it clearly because it's night time, but we'll have a look there. Can't change time in replay mode. Oh, thanks for the heads up. We'll look at a wing view in a second. Oh, you might just about see it, guys. Check, check. Whoa, it doesn't look as bad as actually it was in the flight deck. Ah, let's have a look at a wing view. So this is what it was if you were a passenger today. Oh! That would be on YouTube, wouldn't it? Very good. Safe though, safe in the touchdown zone. That's all that matters. That's all that matters, guys. So we'll leave it in the replay to sign out. Firstly, thanks for all of you that watched another live stream today. It was great fun. Again, I'll try and do one in a couple of weeks' time, maybe a tutorial in between. But as I said, I am very, very busy all times. Thank you very much. Really appreciate the thumbs up and a subscription as well. We just went over 20,000 subscribers, I think it was a couple of weeks ago. So looking for 21,000 coming up very soon. It's unbelievable how much is coming there. So yeah, we'll sign out there. I'll let you watch another replay, vacate the stands, and thank you again very much for watching. We'll see you again very, very soon. Take care, guys.